Hi there, Brendan here with RPS. I'm here today to talk about the new liquid thread sealant that we just started offering to our customers. Now, if you're familiar with plumbing tasks, maybe you've done a couple of household plumbing jobs in the past, you probably know that PTFE thread tape like this we have here is great for joining metal pipe sections. But there are some advantages to using a liquid thread sealant. For one, while we do recommend stainless steel pipe on all of our pump installations, whether you're doing a submersible pump or a booster pump like we have here, some customers still might want to use plastic pipe like PVC. In that case, this liquid thread sealant is going to be a much better choice for you. Secondly, while it does take a little bit longer to apply liquid thread sealant as opposed to thread tape, using liquid thread sealant in addition to or instead of thread tape is going to give you a much stronger seal and a better connection in the long term. We offer two sizes of pipe thread sealant: a 1-ounce tube, which is great for small tasks, and a 4-ounce container in case you have multiple plumbing jobs to tackle. The 4-ounce container also comes with a brush applicator, which can make your install a bit faster. Applying the thread sealant is pretty straightforward, but there are a few things to keep in mind. First, for pipes that are under 1 1/4 inch in diameter, apply to the male threads only. For larger pipe sections, like the ones we're working with today, you'll want to apply this thread sealant to both male and female threads. Before you start using the sealant, it's a good idea to wipe the threads clean to make sure that there's no dust or debris on them. When applying, you want to make sure to get good coverage across all the threads from top to bottom, but don't over-apply. To that note, it's a good idea to keep a rag or some paper towels on hand to wipe off the excess sealant that is below the bottom or top threads. I did apply a bit more than is necessary on this first pass, but you shouldn't worry about that because you can always wipe away the excess sealant. So I went ahead and I wiped off some of the excess thread sealant that we had applied here. Importantly, I wiped off the sealant that is above and below the last threads on this piece. And did the same on the female threads here. Now you might see that there's some pieces that aren't completely covered by thread sealant, but that's okay. This amount here is plenty for you to get a nice secure seal on your installation. Well, there we go. And you can just take a rag or a paper towel and wipe off some of the excess, like so, and you should have a nice secure seal. Now this is safe for use with potable water, so you won't have any issues if you're using this for a household application like a booster pump. Another note about the thread sealant. As I mentioned earlier, it works much better on PVC or plastic pipes like this than the thread tape does. Now if you're going to be joining a plastic section of pipe to a metal section of pipe like this here, the process would be very similar. These are both over 1 1/4 inches in diameter, so you would apply the thread sealant to these male threads here, and then to these female threads on the inlet, screw them in as I just demonstrated on this piece, then you'd be good to go. All right, now here we've got our 3 horsepower booster pump. One thing about these booster pumps, the 3 horsepower model does have this tank up top. And if you really want to make sure that you have a nice, secure, watertight system, it's a good idea to apply some thread tape and sealant to this connection right here before you screw it onto the actual fitting below. So I'm going to take some thread tape, give it 3 wraps around. We're using this heavy-duty RPS Back 40 Solar thread tape. It only takes 3 wraps around to actually get a nice secure seal. Then I'm going to apply some thread sealant to make sure that we get a nice watertight seal between the tank and the plumbing pieces below it. All right, so because we're doing a metal to metal connection here, I'm going to wrap it 3 times around with the thread tape. Then, going in the same direction, I'm going to apply some thread sealant on top of that thread tape to make sure we have a nice, secure, watertight connection. Now, when you're applying the thread sealant after putting on the thread tape, it's always best practice to go in the same direction, in this case clockwise, that you applied the thread tape. The reason you do that is if you go the opposite direction, you can just end up peeling that thread tape off and you'll have to start all over again. And this is our heavy-duty PTFE thread tape. With this stuff, it's much thicker than a lot of PTFE tape that you'd see on the market. So we're only going to do 3 wraps around before we start applying the sealant. If you're using the regular white PTFE thread tape, you might want to do a few more wraps than that. We've got our thread tape on, nice and secure. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of thread sealant on top of that to make sure we have a nice secure connection. So going in the same direction that we applied that thread tape, just going to get a little thread sealant across the entire width of the threads. If you end up over applying, it's not a big deal. You can just come back with a rag or some paper towels, clean it off, and you're good to go. As you can see, we've got a nice amount of thread sealant across the entire width of the threads from top to bottom. So I'm just going to grab a paper towel, clean this up a tiny bit. All right, I've got some of the excess wiped away. Now we have a nice even application of thread sealant across the entire width of the threads. And with that, we're ready to screw this tank on. All right, once you have a nice even application of the thread sealant on the threads of the tank, you're ready to screw it on. So we'll just get it in place and take our time finding the threads there and screwing it on. So that pretty much covers it for this video about pipe thread sealant. We hope that it's been informative. If you enjoyed watching, check out the rest of our videos at youtube.com/RPS Water Pumps. If you have any questions, check us out at rpswaterpumps.com or give us a call at 855-560-5670. We have a US-based team that's standing by Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 Pacific time to answer any questions you have about your next water pump project. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.